While we're trying to figure this out, here's what we do know, and it's important. President Obama put Vice President Biden in charge of America's foreign affairs with two countries, Ukraine and China. And in both cases, his son, Mr. Hunter Biden, walked away with millions of dollars of contracts. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I'm telling you this. This is the message it's sent to the rest of the world. The foreign policy of the United States of America can be bought like a sack of potatoes.
You want to know how corruption works in the modern world? Take a look at the Joe Biden business model for skimming and profiteering. It's not like the old days when some bigwheel would come in with a bag full of money and lay it on the desk of a crooked politician and order him squarely on how to vote. No, today's unscrupulous politician stays clean because he never sees or even hears about the dirty deal. It's much more subtle, and it leads to a longer and far more lucrative relationship between sleazeball oligarch and sleazeball politician. If you want to enjoy all the perks that go with being in politics, but you want the kind of real money that goes with high-level graft, you'd better have some family members who are equally endowed in moral turpitude. All of you aspiring grifters need to pay homage to the esteemed Joe Biden syndicate. Yeah, the one that left his crooked family members with a generous 50% of the plunder. And when it comes to payola, it's just as Sly Stone so funkily sang so many years ago. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. By now, everybody's heard of the antics of Joe Biden's problem child, Hunter. Everybody except the mainstream media, who doesn't seem to want to cover it. Maybe it's just not juicy enough. Yeah, right. Crack-smoking naval officer, Albanian hooker chasing, stripper impregnating, international bribe taking, VP's kid. Yeah, that's not very juicy. Yeah, real reporters like Woodward and Bernstein sure knew how to find a juicy story they could tantalize the world with. How about all the steamy and lurid details of a simple burglary of a shrink's office?
There can be no whitewash at the White House.
Those social media butterflies out there are going to need a little help getting up to speed on the Biden Mafia story. Because the Dem Party wing, known as Big Tech, pulled another fast one on the voters and expunged the Hunter scandal from their platforms. Thanks to the New York Post, you can read the whole story, a story that Biden has not denied. So while the Bidens seem to have the East Coast racket sewn up pretty well from their stash in dirty Delaware, here in SF things are equally soiled and besmirched, but much prettier. The big four of California politics, who are of course Democrats, have all gained mightily from this system of nepotistic nastiness. Let's start with the powerful ladies of SF politics, for they are plentiful and have been busy for many years, stealthily enriching themselves through the influence peddling con games of their loving spouses. Nancy Pelosi is generally regarded as a political genius, but holy cow, her hubby Paul has got to be considered a financial genius. Just look at all the timely stock transactions he's nailed over all the years. And how did he know to get in on all of those IPOs where the real money is? One thing I'm really glad is that Nancy's totally down for global warming, because as long as she's in on that con, she's voting yay for green energy. And it seems like her old man is always there just in time to swoop in and take advantage of any spike in stock prices. And thank God Nancy is a true free market capitalist whose hands-off big tech policy has led to this system of monumental, unchecked profiteering in Silicon Valley. And thank God great American Paul Pelosi has been strengthening the Republic by loading up on discounted call option bargains in big tech stocks for years. Nancy Pelosi has amassed a fortune of $160 million in Bay Area real estate. But thank God I'm able to take advantage of her promise for affordable housing. Next, we come to Dianne Feinstein. Now, I'm not one of those who think that Dianne Feinstein made it to the top only because Dan White took time to reload. No, this hot housefrau from Pacific Heights made it because she hooked up with one of the most forward-thinking grub stakers to hit the Barbary Coast since Shanghai Kelly. Feinstein's husband, Richard Blum, looked past the superficial and saw something special in the perennial wallflower Di-Fi that nobody else did. And that was her possession of two classic attributes needed for effective political degeneracy.
This is what the summary of the 6,000 pages look like.
Access and influence. It started out with a piddling $500,000 in red china when Di-Fi entered the Senate in '92. Yeah, visionary Dick Blum saw past China's weak production of the era, which wasn't much more than rhino-tusk dick pills and fake Louis Vuitton purses. With the careful help of his shrewd senatorial sweetheart, he's distended that investment into multi-billions from the communist dictatorship, responsible for the death and enslavement of millions. In her Frisco district, she has made damn sure that tens of thousands of elderly red Chinese grandmas and grandpas have had a cakewalk getting into the country and living the good Cali life, all on the taxpayer's dime. You will never see a recently emigrated elderly red Chinese homeless and destitute in the streets of San Francisco. But one can't swing a dead cat without hitting a red-blooded, born and bred American citizen passed out on the stairs. For our next San Francisco sleazeball, we have the lovely Kamala Harris. Have a look at the full rundown on Kamala's personal putrefaction of public service in this vid on our YouTube page. For now, we offer you an introduction to her husband, Douglas Emhoff. Now, judging from Kamala's constant vomiting of critical race theory lectures to anybody within earshot, you would have thought she would have chosen to shack up with someone whose values and actions in the world may have been more along the lines of a Che Guevara. But when you meet her actual hubby, it's not really a surprise to see a guy who looks and acts more like Wally Cleaver than Eldridge Cleaver. Had Doug, as she lovingly calls him, had he not chosen to get into big-time corporate law, maybe he would have gone more to the social justice side of things. But that didn't happen, and he got into law. The kind of law that represents big money worldwide, and especially in Red China. All of those clients have one thing in common. They will crush you. Lastly, we come to arguably the most dangerous, but definitely the most beauteous of the four, Gavin Newsom. To climb his family tree is to clumsily seek purchase on the limbs of Pelosi's, Brown's, and the oil-slickened twigs of the Gettys. This guy was not only blessed with great hair, but man, take a look at those great connections. The problem with connections, though, is that at some point you come up against something called payback. If pretty boy Gavinator achieves his ultimate goal of President of the United States, The calls for payback are going to flood in and overwhelm the White House switchboard. We have to look at the state of nepotism in the corrupt world of democratic politics through the prism of the 2020 election and ask ourselves, with all the effort the media has put into destroying Trump, don't you think if there was anything dirty in his family dealings that they would have found it by now? Lord knows they've tried. And look, I get it. You hate the guy. Yeah, he can be an a-hole, and maybe he's a little dirty in the way Manhattan condo salesmen can be dirty. But deep down, you know he's not dirty the way a lifelong political bloodsucker like Joe Biden is. A guy who is sold out to existential enemies like the Red Chinese. But you buy into the scam and you go along with the Trump derangement, because that's what Hollywood, big tech, and the media tell you to do. You want to be in with the in crowd, so you can easily overlook Biden being truly dirty. Yeah, it's just old Joe. That's part of his charm anyway. Obama loved that about old Joe. But they're playing you for clowns. They don't even bother to try and hide it anymore, texting and emailing each other like teenage girls. And they're up in your grill bragging about it and yucking it up with their elite buddies, all the while the camera's rolling.
Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
And they don't care, because they know their little bitches in the media don't want to step into the muck of the swamp. The media and big tech is the swamp.
Illegally targeting our election.
So here at the Crime Tour, we just want to encourage you to take this aspect into account when considering a Biden-Harris ticket.
It was actually it was hurtful.
But whether you do or whether you don't, there's always another crime just around the corner.